today we are going to talk about proportion, and proportion is going to be our last principle of design that we will be discussing. So proportion, when we talk about proportion in art, we're talking about the relationship of two elements. So if we were to draw a person, and then we drew a building, but the person in proportion to the building is much larger, then it changes the story. So it can also be the proportion of a part to a whole. So again, if we drew a person, but their head was really big and their body was really small, then it's out of proportion. These are both out of proportion to what we naturally see, but it is a tool that artists use and play with. And generally, I think of proportion with surrealist art. Surrealist artists use proportion to make some really fun pieces of art. So that's my favorite group of artists that use proportion. So some different ways to use proportion is, like we talked about, size. The different size of one object compared to another object. Another way to use proportion is scale. So scale can mean a lot of different things in art. So one thing is just the format. So I could do, it could be the size of the canvas that I'm using. I might draw an elephant, but it might be on a teeny tiny little canvas. Or I might have a giant canvas and draw a ladybug. So the scale can be just the art piece in and of itself, the size of the canvas, or the size of the it's not coming to me. What's it called? The size of the surface that you're creating on. You can put a scale in that way. Another way to put a scale is just like talking about this, using something that is generally smaller, but you make it larger in scale than the thing that's usually larger. So you can play with scale in a lot of different ways. It can be enlarging small things, or it can be shrinking larger objects. I put that in parentheses because size is relative. What one person thinks is large might be small to another person or thing. And then lastly, perspective, and we have been talking a lot about perspective in the last two lessons, but once again, it does have an impact on proportion, the perspective. So we've talked about 1 point perspective, we've talked about 2 point perspective, and another, and now I'm going to throw in another way of looking at perspective. And that can be where you're sitting. So your perspective can be lower. So where you're seeing something. What is the viewer's perspective? Are you looking up? Are you looking straight? Or are you looking down on something? So if you're looking, one way to do this is just if you were at the bottom of somebody's feet, and so you could see their feet, then their head would look, if they were laying down, then their head would get smaller. So that's perspective. I don't know if you can see this funny guy. Whereas if you were looking at him in the normal view, and then if you were looking at him from above, then his head would look really big. And his feet might look really small. For our project today, we are going to do something similar to what we did the very first week of our class. And so we're going to start out with collage, and we're going to do a collage onto our card. This time around, we are going to try and find pictures of things that are larger or smaller, and we are going to play with proportion. We're going to start looking through our magazines, and hopefully we can find some faces. Oh, look at that. There's a picture right there, playing with proportion with the giant pizzas and the little lady. Another one, this giant high hill with little tiny workers. Okay, so I collected pictures. I'm planning on doing a face, but I have I think I only have one picture of an animal, and the rest are faces. I wish I could have found a male face, but the magazines that I have are directed towards females, so of course all of their faces are going to be female. So anyway, I'm going to start cutting out these. Whether I am going to use like the whole face or just parts of the face, I don't really know yet. This is kind of just an experiment. But I assume that only parts of the face are going to show up in this picture. So I think this is cool, the writing on this lady's face. So her face, because it was pretty big, not that her, I don't personally know her. I don't know if her face is personally big, but just on the magazine spread. And so I think it will make for perfect, it'll make it easy to put together. And where we're talking about proportions, it is going to be pretty awesome to have some big, like a big eyeball on a little page. So I thought her face would work really well for this project because it was printed large. So I totally realize that this is kind of a weird project. I get that. Like, we're cutting features off of different people and putting them on other people. But I do think that sometimes doing projects like this, one thing is they're fun. It's just fun to to try it, but I think it's also loosening up. Sometimes we take ourselves too seriously, and so I think this is great for being able to try new things and be silly and get away from perfectionism or what we're told is beautiful or what we're told to appreciate, and just become the creator. Just have fun with it. So when these assignments get hard or difficult, or you don't really want to do them, or you feel uncomfortable, ask yourself why. Why is it hard to It's a little sad to cover up her smile. She has such a great smile. But Not that this girl didn't have a great nose or something, but I maybe should have used her smile somewhere else just because I really liked it. All right, we are going to try to do the Fibonacci golden ratio. This is something that you are supposed to be able to find in nature, and it's a mathematical equation that represents exponential growth. So you can even find it in human beings. So I'm going to try first with this little card and do a little tiny one first. So the ratio starts 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. So we're going to start with 8 centimeters. And then we're going to go up 5. So now I'm just making squares here. So this side was 5, so then I went 5 over. This side was 3, so then I went 3 over. This side is 2, so I'm going to go 2 over. If you notice the pattern here, so we have 8, and then we have 5, and then we have 3, then we have 2, and now we're going to finish it with 1 and 1. So if I connect all of these corners, it will look kind of like a snail. So this corner goes up to this corner. This corner goes to this corner. And you can just keep going and going and going with that, but that's all that we're gonna do. So we're gonna try to take this and put it on our big paper, and then we'll color it and make a picture out of it. So, okay, so before I take my paper down this time, I found the middle of my paper. So it's 12 inches, so the middle of that is the 6-inch mark. And I am going to need 10 inches to do my project. So I'm going to mark off 1 inch from each border here on each end. And that's where I'm actually going to put my tape for this project. And then I'm gonna find the middle again. In the other direction. So we have about 9 inches. So we got 4.5 would be the middle of that. And then I am going to,
hello.
hi. All right, so I did 1.25 inches times by 8 to find out how much I needed on the length, so that was 10. Now I have to do 1.25 inches times it by 5 to figure out how far this edge should go over. So I need 6.25. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 and 1/4. There we go. So that is 1 inch and it's like between the 5 and the 6. Yeah. 1 inch and so that's going to be our tape line over there. And now we can start marking our grid. So 1.25 inches. 1 inch. Okay, so I've gone over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm finding my mark on this side and drawing a line across. And then 1, 2, 3, finding my line. Drawing my line just to the line over here. Then 1, 2. And then 1. Now I'm going to draw a curved line from this corner to this corner. Just really lightly. And then this corner. Okay, so now I'm going to use my crayons and I'm going to start filling in the spaces. Now these crayons are gonna act as a barrier, so I really love using crayons with watercolor, because then I don't have to stop and wait for it to dry. So with this watercolor, I really want to challenge you to pick up some colors and mix them together. So don't just use plain blue or plain green. Try and see what it would be like to have them mix and combine. Okay, now I'm going to do the next layer with acrylics. And this has a very tight space. Okay, so on this third layer, I think I'm gonna add just a few, maybe just a little bit of watercolor washes on these last ones. And not all of them, but just maybe even just this blue one because it's so light. And I kind of want to see how the watercolor interacts with the blue and the light blue. So that makes me happy because it still kept the blue color and I am getting the light color. I'm getting 3 different colors here. It just adds so much depth when we add layers and layers. And this time I'm mixing the dark blue and the dark